Imagine being so rich that when you go on vacation, you accidentally destroy a country's economy for the next decade. In 1324, one man's generosity was so extreme that gold became worthless in Egypt. Prices skyrocketed, the economy collapsed, and it took 12 years to recover. His name was Mansa Musa, and he's the richest person who has ever lived. Not Elon Musk, not Jeff Bezos, not even close. This is his unbelievable story, the Mali Empire. And ruling over this golden empire was Mansa Musa, the 9th emperor of Mali. But to understand just how rich Mansa Musa was, we need to understand where his wealth came from. The Mali Empire controlled something more valuable than oil today. They controlled West Africa's gold mines. At the time, nearly half of the world's gold came from West Africa, and Mansa Musa controlled it all. But gold wasn't his only treasure. He also controlled the salt trade, and in the 1300s, salt was so valuable, it was literally worth its weight in gold. Mali sat at the crossroads of major trade roads connecting North Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Middle East. Every caravan that passed through paid taxes to Mansa Musa. The empire was a money-printing machine. So exactly how rich was Mansa Musa? Today, Elon Musk is worth about $200 billion. Jeff Bezos, around $180 billion. Bill Gates, about $130 billion. Mansa Musa. Think about that. We can calculate the wealth of every billionaire alive today. We know exactly how much money they have, down to the dollar. But Mansa Musa's wealth? It was so enormous that 700 years later, $100 billion in today's money. Some say it could have been as high as $600 billion. But here's the thing. His wealth was so vast, so incomprehensible, that most historians simply describe it as immeasurable or incalculable. To put this in perspective, if you earned $5,000 every single day since the birth of Jesus Christ, that's over 2,000 years. You still wouldn't have as much money as Mansa Musa had in the 1300s. He owned more gold than some countries have in their entire treasury today. He was, quite simply, the richest human being who has ever walked the earth. In 1324, Mansa Musa decided to make the Hajj, the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca that every Muslim is supposed to make at least once in their lifetime. But Mansa Musa didn't just go to Mecca, he turned it into the most legendary road trip in history. His caravan included 60,000 people, 12,000 slaves, each carrying 4 pounds of gold, 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold, 500 slaves carrying golden staffs, his senior wife with 500 attendants. This wasn't a pilgrimage. This was a moving golden empire. The journey was over 4,000 miles and took an entire year. And everywhere Mansa Musa stopped, he gave away gold. Not small amounts, we're talking massive quantities of gold. In every city, Cairo, Alexandria, Medina, he handed out gold to the poor, built mosques, and tipped everyone so generously that witnesses couldn't believe what they were seeing. One historian wrote that Mansa Musa gave away so much gold that the people of Cairo earned incalculable sums. He paid his scholars in gold. He bought souvenirs with gold. He gave gifts of gold to foreign rulers. He built mosques and left them filled with gold. Local officials reported they had never seen anything like it. Here was a king who was literally giving away And then something unexpected happened. There was so much gold flooding into Egypt and the Middle East that gold lost its value. When supply goes up, price goes down. Economics 101. Gold became so common that its value plummeted. This triggered massive inflation. The price of goods skyrocketed because the money used to buy them, gold, was now worth less. Egypt's economy collapsed. It took over a decade for the region's economy to stabilize. One man's generous vacation had crashed the economy of multiple countries. That's how rich Mansa Musa was. He could accidentally destroy economies just by being generous. On his way back from Mecca, Mansa Musa realized he might have overdone it with the gold giving. So he actually borrowed gold from Egyptian lenders at extremely high interest rates to help stabilize the economy he had just crashed. Think about that. He gave away so much gold that he had to borrow some back. When Mansa Musa returned to Mali, he used his wealth to transform his empire. He built the legendary Sankora University in Timbuktu, which became one of the world's greatest centers of learning. At its peak, Timbuktu had over 25,000 students studying mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and law. He built mosques, libraries, and palaces. He brought back architects from the Middle East to design buildings that still stand today. Under Mansa Musa's rule, the Mali Empire reached its golden age, literally. It became known throughout Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe as a land of unimaginable wealth and learning. So why haven't most people heard this story? Why isn't Mansa Musa as famous as Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, or Napoleon? The answer is simple. Whose history gets told depends on who's writing the history books. For centuries, European colonial powers had an interest in portraying Africa as a dark continent that needed to be civilized. The idea that African empires were centers of wealth, learning, and culture didn't fit that narrative. But here's the interesting part. Medieval European mapmakers knew about Mansa Musa. The 1375 Catalan Atlas, one of the most important maps of the medieval world, shows Mansa Musa sitting on a throne, holding a golden scepter and a nugget of gold. The caption reads, "This king is the richest and most noble lord of all this region, due to the abundance of gold which is gathered in his land." European royalty knew. They just didn't teach it later. Mansa Musa's story reminds us that Africa has always been rich, in resources, in culture, in knowledge, and in power. These stories exist. These empires were real. This history happened. We just have to choose to learn it. Today, hit that subscribe button. We're uncovering the hidden kingdoms and forgotten rulers that history left out. What should we explore next? Let me know in the comments. I'm Hidden Kingdoms, and I'll see you in the next one.